the Fitchburg Library Board to order, and we can move right into agenda item number 2. Any public appearances?
Nope.
All right. Then we'll move on to item 3, and we'll need a motion to approve the minutes from our August board meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the August board meeting minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Before we vote, any questions or discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, we'll go to the vote. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no? And the motion has passed, and we'll move right along to agenda item number 4, the treasurer's report.
All right, so I just wanted to point out a couple of things. I'm going to start with the register. If you look in account 290, we've got a couple of charges to environmental control. That is the additional cleaning that we contracted for. We did that for the whole city. The idea was that they would do nothing but disinfect high touch areas. When we contracted for this, we thought we were going to be open to the public. And I think in that case, it would be super helpful. As it is, I feel like these poor people are running around cleaning doorknobs that have never been touched. So the decision has been made to cancel this as of November 1st. So we're going to see those charges between now and then. The first 3 months of it will be covered by CARES Act funding. So I think we will probably have to pay out of library funds 1 month of that. But what's on here right now we just got word that we had an approval for $17,000 worth of COVID charges from CARES Act funding from the state. So that's sort of an odd one. The other one I wanted to point out is Envisionware. It's in yellow in the 355 account. So these are the staff RFID stations that we decided to replace. And we replaced them with Envisionware, an Envisionware product instead of Biblioteca. And this was, in my view, a bargain. So we're happy to have them. They're all hooked up. They're all operational. It was a good project. I think everything else on here. Oh, the other thing I would just point out is that 387, we are finally spending a decent amount of money on books again. Things are finally coming in and we're getting invoiced for them. So money is starting to go out of that account faster, which is awesome. We've got some making up to do for the months that we were not able to receive items. So that's all good news. And I think really that was all I was going to point out on the overview as well. I think we're in good shape for the end of July. Did anybody have questions? Was there anything that jumped out at anybody?
Wendy, Stephen, just one question related to the extra cleaning. That makes sense. I guess my question is related to the safety and maybe psychological well-being of the staff. Do they feel like, is there enough other protocol in place and cleaning in place that everybody, including yourself coming in and out, feels safe, feels
yes.
clean?
I think
and
so.
all?
I think between our, we've got 2 halftime custodians. One's early in the morning, one is late at night. We've got half of Dan who works for the city as well, and then Kevin's here as well. I think honestly, the fogger that we bought is giving people more confidence than anything. So yeah, I think everybody sort of is feeling for these people that are kind of just walking around disinfecting the same things over and over. I think if we were open, it would make a lot of sense. Yeah, but no, I think we'll be fine without it. Any other questions? If not, we should approve the finance report for the month.
Yeah, we will need a motion to approve the finance report, please.
The motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion or other questions? Okay, we'll go to vote. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? And the motion has passed. Moving on to item number 5, unfinished business. Not yet. We're gonna wait for January. Then we'll have some. Okay, move right along then to item number 6 on the agenda, new business, 6A, resolution R16620, library tax exemption.
Do we want to have a motion in a second before we discuss?
Yeah, that's the right way to do it. So could we have a motion to basically support, I think the motion for us, Wendy, if this is, please correct me if I'm wrong, is to support this resolution?
Yes.
Motion to approve.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded. Let's go to discussion then.
So this is the request for exemption that we file every single year. So in Dane County, if you do not have a library, then you pay a library tax. We were paying around $1 million in Fitchburg before we had the library. And this is just sort of assuring the county that the city of Fitchburg is putting sufficient funds forward for the library so they don't have to pay that tax. So this is actually approved by the council. The library board and the finance committee just give their support to it. Any questions?
I mean, this is basically, Wendy, if, you know, per the annual report that we have to do for the library, if we're doing all of those things, investing the dollars for circulation, all of those things, we are basically showing that we're doing everything so that we don't actually have to pay this tax. Correct. Which we obviously are doing. Okay. Yep.
Yep. And Dane County does want to make sure that all the communities are not shorting their library budget severely in order to fund other things. So I think this is kind of their way of ensuring that enough money is being put towards operations every year. And we're well over the minimum that's required.
Great. Any further questions or comments before we move to a vote? Okay. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed, no? And the motion has passed. Get my agenda back, and we are now on to agenda item 6B, the Ripple project, and then the memorandum of mutual accountability related to the Ripple project.
So probably we want to do a motion in a second and then discussion again.
And how would you characterize this this motion? This is a motion for us to support the Ripple project and sign the memorandum of mutual accountability?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. So if we could have a motion in a second, please.
So motioned.
I'll second.
Thank you. Wendy.
Okay, so this is the Ripple project that I've been talking about for a little while. This is a project that is being put forth by Beyond the Page, which is the countywide humanities endowment that was put together probably 8 years ago now. We did some training probably 3 years ago now with the YWCA on social justice, and it was received very well, and it was felt that it was really something we needed to do. You know, for that training, I think every library was able to send maybe 1 or 2 people. But it was really valuable, and we really felt like it needed to have a broader reach than that. So the endowment typically will award a grant to each library every year for programming, and then you can apply for competitive grants. So the decision was made to take all of that funding and put it towards the Ripple project for 21 and 22. The reason that they brought this memo to us is just to ensure that all the libraries are committing their time to participate in this fully. We're very lucky to be the size that we are, so we've got enough staff that we could participate fully, I think, no matter what. But I think for some of the smaller libraries, it's a real commitment for them to, you know, if you've only got 4 people on staff total, you know, this is a lot of time to put into it. So I think they just want to make sure that people are serious about it, and that it's not going to be something that when the dates come around for the training that people are like, oh, sorry, like we were short staffed, we couldn't do it. We're putting significant resources into the consultant that I think is referenced here in phase 3. She's coming from Milwaukee. She's fantastic. The good news about this also is that because of COVID, I think a lot of this is going to be moved online, which means we can have a lot more people participate. So I think kind of the idea was it was going to be kind of a train the trainer, so we could send a handful of people and then come back and train everybody else. But I think with this, we're going to be able to do more in-person training, which will be great. So this kind of outlines what the commitment is for 2020 and 2021. Then the idea is in 2022 that we then turn this around and start providing public programming, so that we can kind of further the reach even more and do it well, I guess. So I am fully in favor of this, have been since it started. They're being very careful, I think, about the resources that they're using. But I think, if anything, in the past few months, we've seen that there's more of a need for this than we even knew there was. So I think the timing of it is really good. So yeah, I'm fully in support of this. I hope you are as well. It is also going very nicely with the DPI assessment that we were doing for accessibility and inclusivity. So the timing is all kind of working out, I think, very well with this. So I would recommend that we agree to it.
Wendy, I know phase one of this is set to basically start now. It's kind of the fall of 2020 for the audits and other kind of assessments. Do you know what the basic time frame is for the phase 2, 3, 4 of the project?
I think the phase 2, 3, and 4 will be done in 2021.
21. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. And then we'll turn it around to work more with the public.
I have one question.
Yeah.
I'm impressed, but is there a cost to the library? What I see a minimum of $5,000. Pardon?
Because essentially we're foregoing the grant money that we would have applied for programs. So we sort of all agreed that we would not get any money for the next 2 years to do other programming. So like I don't know if you remember, but last year we did a big Disney grant that was multi-library. So I think we had 4 or 5 libraries that did a ton of programming, and we were the fiscal agent. So we got $12,000 for that, and then paid for the programming for all of the libraries.
Okay.
So that is it. I believe it's around $100,000 a year that they are able to give out from that endowment. So we just all agreed that we would all agree to put it towards this one thing instead of doing our own programs.
Okay. Understood. Thank you.
Which I think is a really good point, because I think this could cost a lot of money if we were doing it differently.
I have a follow-up question to what Stephen was referring to.
Mm-hmm.
I would just ask that when it's signed, we have the dates in the different phases, phase 2, 3, and 4, so that we can hold ourselves accountable to those dates.
I don't know that I can make a change to this at this point. So this is coming from Dane County and from Beyond the Page. I can certainly ask for dates and then send that out to the board. Would that work? I mean, there is a possibility, I think, if things, depending on what's happening in the world, if things get pushed back, it could go longer than that. But Dane County is also signing this, so they are committing to doing this as well, and Beyond the Page. Yeah, so I think it does say in here somewhere that the dates will. Let's see.
Yeah, because I don't see a signature for Dane County, and I didn't see, that it hopes to be completed by a certain date.
Right. So the question was raised in a Dane County director meeting. Why isn't Beyond the Page or Dane County signing as a co-signer? And what they said is basically Beyond the Page exists as a group of all Dane County libraries. So it's not one library that is really running this. It's a committee of representatives from all of the libraries. So it's each library really just taking on the commitment that they will put the time and effort into this. But there's not really an opposing side to it, if that makes sense.
It's a really interesting question, Ann. I hadn't thought of it that way. It makes me think or wonder, is there a team, Wendy, from maybe it's the Cream City Consulting Group, or maybe it's a Beyond the Page. Is there a team that's basically running this program and project? And in theory, then they will lay out a plan.
Yes.
And then we can understand what that plan is and how it fits, and then we can do exactly what you said, Anna. Say, this is the plan. Let's track to it, and
Right.
and kind of make sure our resources are applied to it appropriately.
Yeah. So there's a Beyond the Page committee, and then I believe there's also a Ripple committee that is kind of a subset of that. So yeah, there are two groups I think that could help with that. I think that the commitment has been that we will be doing this on the staff side through 2021, but it's not written in here. It does say, I think, that it's going to go on forever because this is not a project that can end. Yeah.
One,
So how do you want to move forward?
Yeah, and any concerns that we want to address before we support it, or is it just making sure we get the follow-up that has more specifics on resources and timing?
Exactly. More the second. Okay. I don't have any qualms about supporting the document. I just, as far as holding ourselves accountable, I like to have dates in there.
Yes. And definitely it also should be something that I'm updating you as we go, like as we move into the different phases. I'll certainly include that in my director's report, meeting to meeting.
That would be great. And then I just had one thought based on Randy's question around the actual, like, will this cost us money? Maybe not directly, but it's clearly a huge investment of people time.
Yes.
Which I think is the right thing to do, but it's not free.
Right.
It's going to be a lot of time and effort.
Yep. That's a very good point. There is going to be a lot of staff time in here. I think it's a really good way for us to kind of direct our staff development. So it is some time that we would be putting in anyway, but probably significantly more.
Yeah, we just need to understand that cost.
Yep.
How that impacts us.
Yep.
So Wendy, I guess one last question. I know I think the signature is looking for your signature as well as my signature.
Yes.
Do we need to actually get wet signatures on the paper, or
are you able to sign and scan it to me?
Probably.
Okay.
I can probably figure something out. Maybe text you a picture.
Or I don't know. I can put it out for curbside and you can stop by and sign that way. I'm sorry, this is not electronic. I wish it was.
That went pretty smoothly. Is it a PDF? You can use because I don't know how the city feels about it, but I know that DocHub is pretty good about like submitting documents through PDF that you can then like add it in e-signature to.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question. Does legal need to look at this before Stephen and Wendy sign this, per what Ann's discussion was about having dates in there?
I think so, because we're not signing. Like we're just holding ourselves accountable. We're not putting money into it. I don't feel like there's repercussions that we need to worry about. If it was a monetary thing, then probably yes.
Okay.
Any other concern, Toby?
I'm good.
Okay. All right, really good discussion. Any other final questions or comments? Then we will go to vote. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? No. And the motion has passed. Let's jump back to the agenda. And one final item under new business, item 6C, library closure November 4th for staff in service.
So we've had this on the calendar forever, as we do for the twice a year. We did cancel in May, obviously, because we were not in the building. We kind of waffled on this one about whether we should do it or not, and I decided that I think the staff could really use some recognition and some time. We obviously can't do an in-service the way we normally would, where we would do a training in the meeting room with everybody together. So we're working on a plan where we kind of rotate people through different places in the building and have different activities. I want to use this opportunity to recognize the staff because I think they've all worked really hard this year and it's been a strange year. So we're going to do a couple of fun things, but I also want to use this chance to get some feedback from them about how this COVID experience has been. If there are things that we could have done better, if there was communication they felt like they didn't get, what they thought went well. So I think this is a good time to kind of collect some of that information. We may also spend some time on the Ripple project, depending on where that is at the time. But yeah, we decided as a management team that we really think it's important to go through with this. So it will be one day that we're not doing curbside service. But I think that's actually a lot easier to not do than being open for the day. So this is, I think, kind of an easier one than usual. So we should have a motion in a second. Sorry, I jumped in first.
I know. I always get the order wrong. We do need a motion to support the library closure on November 4th, please.
Motion to support the library closure. Sorry.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. We'll if no further discussion, move to vote. All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, no? All right, motion has passed. And that concludes our new business. And moving on to item number 7 in the agenda, the president report. Just a couple of quick updates. Want to thank this entire team for working through the annual review process for Wendy. We had that at our last meeting every year. Feel like the process gets better, and as well as the content and the discussion, the constructive and candid, feel really good about the process that we went through this year. So thank you all for that. And then Ann, Toby, Wendy, and I had a chance to meet now, I guess it was a couple of weeks ago, maybe a week ago, to share all the content with Wendy and have a good discussion, and then talk a bit about forward-looking goals. So thought that went really well. We decided on adding our first bit of unfinished business to our agenda in January. Thanks for that, Toby, making sure we have some unfinished business on the agenda, where we'll talk more about some sort of staff survey, whether that's a kind of staff engagement, staff SAT / 360 kind of feedback for Wendy, figuring out how we want to do that. But talking about that in January. Immediate reaction from Wendy was very open to going through some process like that. So looking forward to working through that when we get into the new year. And then I think next steps is really Wendy's working on goals, and we'll be sharing those with us in the future. So that's it for me and the president report. So thanks again for all the work on that this year. Appreciate it.
I have a parliamentary question. Under unfinished business in number 5, should there, and I don't know the answer to this, should the thing we're going to discuss in January be in unfinished business, and then you table it every month until you actually address it, so that it doesn't get lost between now and when we intend to address it?
I think you're right, Toby. I think it actually has to start as new business, and then if it's tabled, it goes into unfinished business.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it actually tabled, or do you defer it? Table sometimes is tabled for forever. I've never seen it yet.
Right. I think you can table until a future date or indefinitely.
Yeah, or defer it. So.
We'll have to figure that out before January.
Yeah, good question, Toby. No idea.
Having never had unfinished business before, we don't know how to deal with it. Okay.
We don't know what to do. I know.
I'll check the rule book, but I'll make a note about it for the future meetings.
Thank you, Jenny. We usually pick on the person in Randy's seat to bring us, the Robert's rules knowledge and how we do all this stuff.
Yeah, I'm always learning, so.
Us too.
Yeah, good question. Okay, that's it for item 7. We move on to item 8, the library director report.
All right, got a couple of things to share. So we expanded our curbside services on the 8th after Labor Day. We have expanded the hours, so they mimic pretty closely the hours that we would normally be open. So we're doing it till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. People seem to be enjoying that. So people that are back at work, it's giving them some more flexibility about when to come in and pick up their curbside orders. We're averaging, I want to say, somewhere between 80 and 100 orders a day. So it's certainly not the volume we were doing when we were open, but it is not bad for curbside services. We're pretty happy with the amount of calls that we're getting. We also added grab bags. So there are now forms on the website where you can, if you don't know what you want to read, so people can't come in and browse right now, which I think some people are really missing. So you can go fill out a form and say, for adults or for kids, I like mysteries, I like thrillers, and librarians will do what they do best and go find 5 items for adults, 10 items for kids, check them out to your card, and you'll pick them up through curbside. We also added printing through curbside, so you can send us documents that you need to print. We'll go ahead and print that out and set it out as a curbside pickup. We launched an online application for a library card, so you can upload your ID to the website and submit your application, and we can mail you a card. So we can get that all done without anyone having to come in. That's working out pretty well too. So things have been going well. We also launched our fall reading program, our first ever fall reading program, on September the 1st. So it is using the Beanstack software that we use for summer reading, and kind of the same format. But we decided that since kids were going to be doing school from home, they might like to have a reading challenge for the fall. So that started. We got some information back. So this.
Can I interject? Sorry to interrupt. Can we talk about like some promotional material that I can give to my staff at Leopold so that we can promote that to my kids?
Yes.
All right. I'll circle back to that later.
Okay. Sounds good. So the group in Ohio that's been doing testing of the COVID virus on library materials came out with their 4th round of testing. And it's kind of vague, but they have determined that after 6 days, there are still trace amounts of the virus on library materials when they are stacked tightly together. So the phase 2 that we've been following talks about just individual items or loosely stacked, which I think is what our book drop most closely resembles. Tightly stacked, I'm reading that as it's on a bookshelf and it's got a bookend, so they're all tight together. I got some inside information from some friends in Ohio, and they say that they applied 100,000 bioparticles. I don't really know what a bioparticle is. They applied 100,000 bioparticles to the item at the beginning of the test, and on day 6, there were 100 bioparticles left. So it's trace amounts. They don't know if it's enough to make someone sick, but I do think that it is supporting our choice to do curbside pickup and not allow people in the building for browsing. I feel like with these test results, if we were allowing patrons in, anything that was touched couldn't go back on the shelf. It would have to go into quarantine. So I think it's kind of just bolstering the choices that we've already made. I still think sort of the general wisdom is going towards you don't get this from touching things, you get this from people. But I still think we want to be as careful as we can to make staff feel safe at work and to make patrons feel safe. So I will keep updating you on that testing. It's in some ways very detailed testing, and in some ways the details are not at all helpful. So they're doing a lot of museum things and other like materials that are not helpful. So I'm kind of taking all of it with a grain of salt, but also taking it seriously enough to do the right thing. So we are currently still at 4 days quarantine for book drops. And I think that's going really well. And for delivery as well. We're getting delivery 5 days a week now, which has really helped kind of spread the workload out for staff. You know, we were getting delivery 3 days a week, so they were much larger. And so then they would come out of quarantine at the same time. So things are kind of evening out a little bit. We are getting ready to pilot having the book drop open 24 hours a day on weekdays. Which is a big step. You know, we were getting huge amounts of returned items. That has also leveled out. So we're getting 2 or 3 bins a day, but they're not overflowing. So we feel like we're going to be able to handle 24/7, which I think people will really appreciate. Well, we will not be able to do that. We'll have to close it Saturday night through Monday morning. But I think we can probably leave it open the rest of the week. it's gonna snow here soon, and snow and curbside is not great. We've already had one day where it was raining sideways directly into the tables where items were being picked up. On those days, we're using recycled plastic bags to put items in. I just want to give the board a heads up that if we're going to have a blizzard sometime during curbside, we will likely just cancel curbside for that day. The beauty of doing same day curbside pickup is that we'll just have to announce it, post it, email it out, and then not answer the phones for the day. So we won't have people that had already scheduled the pickup that are not able to come in. We just won't schedule folks that day. So I don't know that we're going to have a terrible winter or not. So this may or may not ever happen. You know, we've talked about different ways to do curbside that would be more out of the weather. And I just don't think there is an option. We talked about the garage.
Yeah.
There's access issues with the garage, with people getting into the building. So I don't think that works. We talked about using the other side of the building because we have a little bit more space over there, but it is not really any better protected. And then you have to have people come around the building, which doesn't seem like a good idea. So just a heads up that if we have a blizzard, we may have to shut things down for a day. I will email out if that happens for sure. But just wanted to sort of put that out there.
Did you guys talk at all about one of those, I don't know what they're called, one of those big party tents? Set it up permanently for a while? With
wind, I don't know. Like, I think if we're having bad weather, wind is going to be a problem. We've got a couple of small tents that we had talked about using. I think, so the one thing that we really have going for us is that sidewalk in front of the library where the tables are set up for curbside is heated, and it's got a sensor in it. So when it snows, that turns on, and so there shouldn't be any ice or snow on that stretch. But getting into that area can be a little bit dicey. But I really think it's more materials. Like if we've got snow that's blowing directly into that area, I don't want to put all of our books out there. Even in plastic bags is a little bit dicey. So this is a last resort. I don't expect this to happen, but just in case it does. All right. I think that's all I've got. Yep.
I have a question.
Yep.
If we may circle back to your first item, curbside, the hours, the extended hours. Mm-hmm. I think that's terrific. It's just that I had a colleague bring up on, I think it was the last council meeting. He was frustrated that the library was still closed. Mm-hmm. And I haven't had a chance to follow up with the colleague, but first of all, is there any discussion as far as when the library would open up? And I understand COVID is on the rise, and I fully support your decision. But I'm also curious, other libraries were mentioned. I'm under the impression that other libraries have since closed, even if they were open. I mean, can you give me a little information there as well? Or maybe
sure.
Don't?
Sure. So there are some libraries that I know of 2 libraries that had opened for what they were calling lobby service. So they were allowing a little bit of browsing of items just in a specific area. So Verona is one that we hear about a lot. So Verona is open for lobby browsing. A big part of the reason they can do that is the way their building is set up. I don't know if you've been there.
Yeah.
But you go in your first set of doors there, and you've got a fairly sizable lobby with restrooms, and then a second set of doors into the main building that they can keep locked. The problem with our building is that we have that itty bitty vestibule where I don't think more than 2 people can safely be. And then once you're in that second set of doors, you've got access to the whole building. And frankly, even in the vestibule, there's an elevator and a set of stairs there. So you can go anywhere you want in the building once you get in those doors.
Right.
So there's really no way, like we've talked about this endlessly in managers' meetings about if there's any way to do it. And I just don't think there is, without losing. Even in the garage, we talked about, is there any way to use the garage? But we've got the door that goes to the stairway down there can't be locked because it's a fire door, both in and out. So once people pull into the garage, they've got full access to the building as well.
Right.
So I think it's a lot about that. Verona is still open for a lobby service, as I understand it. Both Monona and Sun Prairie started it and stopped it. And I think that is due to people thinking once they get in the lobby, they really want access to all of the collections, which they can't have. I think people are refusing to wear masks. I think people are not social distancing. So it's not worked well in other places, and we frankly just don't have the setup for it.
Sure.
I try to be really thankful that our building is really set up for staff. We've got enough space for all the staff to work. I know Oregon, for example, can't have all their staff working and keep them 6 feet away from each other. So they are not able to have their full staff working. So we're fortunate in some ways and not as fortunate in others. I also think the infection rates are just terrible. And I will say, from the phone calls that we take for curbside, the people that are really upset about not being able to come to the library, when we ask them, what is it that you need? What can we get you? It's, I just want a place to go. It's not that I need a book or I need something from you. It's, I just want a place to go. And that's exactly why we can't have them here, right? Like, they just want a place to be that isn't home, which I absolutely understand. I think we all do at this point, but I think that's exactly why we can't do it.
Right.
I think you might also see people dropping their kids off for virtual learning at the library, and we could become a daycare center.
Yes, absolutely.
Obviously, you're not equipped to do that.
No.
Yeah. Right. Well, thank you. Thank you for the answer.
Yep. Yeah, this isn't what anybody wants to be doing right now. I think we're all getting really, it's been 6 months now that since we closed. And I think we're all just, this isn't what the library is supposed to be like. It's supposed to be full of people. It's supposed to be busy. I think doing curbside is helpful for staff, but I still think that they miss the interaction. So it's not just the patrons that are missing it. It's us too.
Right.
Question, I just kind of along that same line of thinking, it's realistic to expect that this virus will be with us for some number of years. So at what point do you go through and develop some sort of reopening criteria and have these things established, whether it's positive numbers, whether it's percent positive tests, just because this will not go to zero for years.
Yeah, I made a comment the other day that I don't see this ending gracefully. I don't think that we're just going to all of a sudden one day be able to open up like normal. So I think we're looking at infection rates. I think we're looking at what other libraries are doing. I think we're looking at the testing they're doing on the items. I don't know the answer about when we open and when we're comfortable with it. I wish I did. I think watching what the schools are doing is also very important, because Toby's point is very valid. If we open when the schools are still closed, it's not safe because we're just moving everybody from there to here. But also, like, we don't have the capability to watch people's kids or help them with online learning. So I feel like this is going to be a longer haul than any of us expected when we closed. I remember closing and thinking maybe 6 weeks we'd be back open, and I can't believe we're at 6 months now.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know if, Chris, I really like that question. I'm wondering if you have any thoughts on what some reasonable objective criteria would be. The one that I can think of right now for the library, kind of the proxy that I have in my mind, Fitchburg is unique in this way that, if the public schools at Fitchburg is a part of our Oregon, Verona, and Madison. So thinking about what those 3 school districts end up doing, and if they transition to some sort of hybrid model where they're open a few days and having some in-class things, I think we need to think hard about, kind of trying to line up with something like that. But that's the, Chris, to Chris's question, that's the one kind of objective thing that I can think of that would make sense to try to mirror. And I don't know if you have any other thoughts or in kind of your experience, other things you're seeing that seem to be working or reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there is a lot of tremendously good guidelines out there right now. It certainly does seem that the vast majority of this spread is via aerosolized particles and not so much fomites or things that you're touching. So, I mean, a big part of it is just mask utilization, having hand sanitizer stations, things like that available, and then limiting the numbers of people and social distancing. So, I don't know how you would go about, setting up these criteria. You certainly would have to limit the number of people in the building. You certainly would want to, you'd have to enforce the mask thing. And I don't know how you do that if somebody comes in and
that gets hard.
they won't do it. And you certainly, I think it makes sense for there to be lower numbers in the community, but what that threshold number is and whether you're using a testing positive or absolute numbers, I don't know. But at least then, like for the community stuff, for them to have some sort of idea. I know one of the frustrating things as a parent is we're in the Verona School District, and there seems to have been no plan. They seem to be just kind of making this stuff up on the fly, when it seems like they would have had months to develop multiple plans based on testing criteria at the time. So I don't know. It just seems like there could be something put in place. Like these are, the criteria that we would have based on testing within the community or recommendations or something.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I like that idea of, I agree kind of as a parent in the schools, we're in Madison schools, and I think the way things are going so far for this semester are wildly improved from the spring. But yeah, it's still challenging. So it's such an interesting time in life. There's so much uncertainty that even if we put out a statement and, Wendy, this is for you and the team to think about, but like a statement of saying, we're not planning to open in person until the schools are, or just something like that to give Randy an answer to be able to give to somebody who is frustrated about it. At least it's something to say, hey, sorry you're frustrated, but here's the current plan. So yeah. I like the idea of having a point of view.
Yeah, my fear is that I think that we were thinking along those lines early on, and then things just keep changing, right? Like what we thought was a bad infection rate is now seems like it wasn't really that much to worry about. Like now it's so much worse. So I feel like I'm hesitant to put out an actual metric in case we have to change it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to set up expectations that we're for sure going to be open on this date and then not do it, because I think that really frustrates people. So I think for now we need to stick with we're just going to have to monitor what's going on in the community and in the schools, and do the best that we can, knowing that, we want to open, but we want to open safely.
Yep. Yeah, I think the criteria that we have around safety of the staff, safety of the community is important and is the right things. And then giving people a sense, we want to open as soon as it's safely possible.
Yeah. I think the other fear that we have is that if we open, the sooner we open, I think the people that are going to be comfortable coming here and spending time here are very likely going to be the ones that aren't wearing masks and aren't social distancing. So you're sort of exposing your staff to the very problem.
That would be me. I would show up.
You better have a mask on.
I would wear a mask.
Yeah, there's no good or easy answers here. And frankly, I just thank my lucky stars every day that I'm not having to try to decide this for the schools, because I think that's probably 100 times harder.
Yeah, I can't speak to the decision-making process at the district level, because obviously I'm kind of a foot soldier in that organization, as it were. But I do know that the lack of clear federal and state guidelines and the battleground that has become has made it really difficult to know what's happening. Even when we were trying to plan, teachers were also frustrated with this because we wanted to sit down and plan what our fall was going to look like, and we didn't have good indications of what it was going to, what we could expect until the beginning to middle of August. So we were looking at planning our fall 2.5 weeks before we were going to be expecting to talk to kids.
Yeah, that's crazy.
All right, so I think. Go ahead, Toby.
I have a question. I haven't been on the library webpage in a while. Is to alleviate any frustrations that people are having, I'm just kind of brainstorming here. Is there a clear checklist of, hey, you want a book? We're doing curbside. Hey, you don't know what you want to read? You can do this, and we will pick books for you. Is there a list like that on the page?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
We got pretty clear instructions. We find it's a whole lot easier if it just has steps on what to do.
Yep, okay, thank you. And Chris, thank you for pointing out that this is going to go on. It's not what I want to hear, but it's the reality of it.
Yeah.
Sorry. Only other thing, like going along with the equity thing. So, if you think about a lot of the people that are really going to need that library, that maybe need it as a place to hang out, how are they getting reading material at this time? If they don't have the ability to get there as easily, are they going to take a bus just to pick up a bag of books and then hop back on a bus to go home?
We do have some bus riders that come down for curbside. Yes. But yeah, I mean, point taken. There's a whole lot of people that can't walk here. Where this library is located is tough for, I think, the northern tier of the community. Having said that, I don't have an answer. I mean, I don't have a solution for that.
I know that the Dream Bus services like the Leopold neighborhood. I'm trying to collaborate with Madison on creating some sort of promotional materials for them, so that I can let my families know more reliably that they can get some library service through the Dream Bus. And I forget. I keep learning and then forgetting the connection between Fitchburg and the Dream Bus. The Dream Bus is a county thing, right?
So that's part of Dane County Library Service. We funded it for the first year, and then Madison took it over. The Madison Foundation is funding it now.
Okay, that's kind of the piece of clarity that I needed.
Yeah.
But they use the same. They use the Southwestern, or they can pull ILL books from you guys as well, correct?
Yes. Yeah. They're just like a library location, so they can reserve things and you can get holds from anywhere on the Dream Bus and the bookmobile. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that those are all running. So I think Leopold's got service once a week, right? Yep.
Tuesdays. Apparently the hours changed from 3 p.m. to 11 a.m. So yeah, I mean, with all the kids being no longer physically in school, there's
right.
But I hadn't realized that when I was originally promoting the Dream Bus.
Yeah. So. Tracy told me that they are trying to do all of their business outside, and that I think weather is probably going to be challenging for them as well. But
this is why I'm like, this is unrelated to you guys, but I'm just hoping to get a hold of them so that we can create that promotional material and teach people about what they have available.
Yep.
Right back.
Ben, it looks like we do have now a public appearance. Who's joining us on the call today?
This is my daughter, Eleanor. She's 3 months old as of Saturday. She's
Hi, Eleanor.
Very chill baby. Hi.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
At least today, my son has been very relaxed, and earlier this morning when I was on a phone call, he insisted on climbing up on my lap so he could see who I was talking to, and waving to them and showing them his toys. So
very good. Okay, Wendy, anything else for the director report?
Nope, that's it.
All right, let's move on then to item 9 on the agenda, committee reports, and 9A, strategic planning.
No, did everybody get the calendar I sent out? We finally got that updated and formatted, so I sent that out not too long ago. That's all I have for strategic planning.
All right. How about item 9B, facilities?
So I'll share some information with you that I sent out to the facilities committee recently. We are installing an ionization item in our HVAC machine. I don't have a whole lot of technical details about this. So it is being recommended for HVAC systems to clean the air. I'm not entirely convinced that it's the magic that they say it is. I do think it's good for the system overall, so it can prevent mold growth, and it supposedly, I think, can prevent all sorts of stuff. It is being paid for by the CARES Act funding, or we may not be doing it. It's close to $20,000. While I don't feel like I've got concrete evidence that it does all that they say it does, it is what UW hospitals apparently are installing, and Dean clinics as well. Kevin went to 3 different companies in town, and they all recommended the same product. So I do think it's probably the best thing that's on the market right now. So that will be installed. I think it has to be in before November 7th for CARES Act funding. So they did get the pre-approval done, and that should be coming. They've already installed it in City Hall, and I think they're hoping to do it over at the community center, senior center as well. The other thing, we're struggling a little bit. So we are having all of our deliveries come through the delivery door in the back where we bring in our book deliveries from South Central. So typically UPS and USPS will bring things just through the front door. FedEx, they all just come through the front door. But since we're not open, we have been directing them to the back door. The back door is a fire door. You cannot see through it. There are no windows. We've been having issues with staff will hear the buzzer or hear a knock, and they open it, and it's just a patron wanting to return books, but they can't there. So we have installed, this is also where we had problems with the library patron that I emailed about. We have installed, we asked about putting a peephole in the door so we could just see who is on the other side of it before we open it up. But because it's a fire door, it's full of concrete, so you can't do that. So IT helped us put a tiny little PC that's like a pack of gum and a monitor on the back counter, and now it's a live feed from the security camera out there, so we can see who's out there before we open the door, which has been very helpful for deliveries, but also helpful. Jenny and I head out that way to go to City Hall, and it's always a surprise when you open the door if there's somebody standing there. So it's worked out very well in a couple of different ways, and it was pretty inexpensive solution. I think the staff all feel a little bit better. The buzzer goes off in the circulation workroom, and then people just have to kind of blindly run back there. So I think everybody's happy with that setup, but just wanted to let you know that was happening. And then we're about 10 years old now. We're starting to find things that are needing to be replaced, including some safety lights. So we've got 2 different types of safety lights. One type is attached to the wall. We had to replace most of those probably 5 years ago. They were not great. And they had batteries that couldn't be replaced. So we replaced all of those with batteries that we could replace, so they would be a little bit longer lasting. We also have some that in the open like lobby areas are in the ceiling, and they are very complicated, and they're flush to the ceiling, and then they flip over and have lights when the power goes out, except that they don't usually do that. There's a lot of parts and pieces, and some of them we found just kind of stuffed up in the ceiling, not connected. So Kevin and Dan have been all over that project, and they went to see what a replacement would cost, and it was some crazy number, like $800 for a product that we don't really like. So we're going to replace them with like a $50 version, I think, and they're going to be able to wire that themselves. So that should be an improvement, but kind of just on our list of ongoing maintenance that we haven't had to do before. So that's happening soon as well. And that's it.
All right. How about item 9C? Anything on personnel?
I will report. So we had some jobs posted, and we did interviews probably a month and a half ago now, and it went really, really well. We ended up hiring 3 shelvers and 3 library assistants and a custodian, and they were really good candidate pools. We got great people. It's a little bit strange to interview and meet someone and have them start and not know what the bottom half of their face looks like. But HR sent out ID pictures of everybody, so now we've actually seen everybody's face on the computer once. But yeah, training has been odd as well because we're trying to social distance, but they're working it all out, and we got some really great people. So happy to report that. That's all for personnel from me.
That's great.
I think I met one of those candidates when I was signing some of the paperwork. He saw me sitting at a table filling out paperwork, and he came and he asked me if I was the The person you needed to talk to, and I had to wave him around to the other side of the building.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, Wendy, I had a story to tell you. This isn't related to anything in particular, but a librarian over at Nuestro Mundo in Monona was contacted recently by the Fitchburg Public Library in Massachusetts because somebody found a Fitchburg library book on a train in St. Louis and mailed it to Fitchburg, Massachusetts. It's a Fitchburg, Wisconsin library book. And so
I hope we get back someday.
yeah, I don't know how they got a hold of Hollis at Nuestro Mundo, but they I guess Fitchburg called her to try and figure out how to get it back to you.
I wonder why, huh? We've had, I think it was a carpet installer was coming to look at some problems we had and was on the phone with Kevin saying like, no, I'm standing at the circulation desk. And they're like, no, I'm standing at the circulation desk. No, I'm standing. And he finally said, are you in Wisconsin? And he said, no, I'm in Massachusetts. So it happens more than you would expect. We also have sometimes people will look up the website and they'll show up here for a program that's actually in Massachusetts. Yeah, happens more than I would expect.
All right. Thank you for those updates, Wendy. We'll move on to item number 10, announcements. The only announcement is our next library meeting is the 21st of October, I believe, is when we will be back together. And so then we can move on to item 11 and adjournment, and we will need a motion for that, please.
I will motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, and we have some additional voters online. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? And the motion has passed. Thanks all. I hope you have a great evening, great rest of the week.
Thanks, everyone.